Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels, the podcast where we aim to explore, examine, and elevate the medium of comics. My wife went out and found another great cartoonist for me, um, which meant I dragged my wife on. Again, you all get to hear Kelly. So everybody send nice messages to say that Kelly does a good job because she doesn't believe me that when I tell her that.
I don't.
And our guest tonight is the wonderful Emmy Gennis, who both cartoons and teaches about comics. And as teachers, we love teachers. So, hi, Emmy.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you
Yeah.
all?
I mean, we're at that hard point in the semester when she's elementary and I'm special ed. So, the kids
I,
are like,
Yeah.
I do. I do.
I think we're like halfway through. For me, it's halfway through the longest first semester stretch without a day off
Mhm.
for the kids, and you can start to feel it.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, I'm doing great. And that's not even horrible. It's just, you at some point it's like having a full moon every day until Thanksgiving.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I was just saying to a few of my students earlier today, like we are in the thick of it. Like you can
Hmm.
tell what
Hmm.
week of the semester it is by just the ambient anxiety level
Yep. Hmm.
building.
They're finally starting to realize that they might have to work to get the grades that they want.
Yep.
Um, that it won't automatically happen by osmosis or their parents calling the teacher. Um, in Kelly's case, I don't know. They're second graders. I mean, some of them aren't second graders, but the second graders are the ones that I hear the most about.
Yeah. They're the ones.
I teach college, so I don't have to deal with calls from their parents.
That's
Um,
nice.
or if that ever happens, then something has gone terribly wrong.
Right.
See, I'm a paraprofessional, so I also don't have to deal with calls from their parents, and I like it that way.
Mhm.
I get to do all the fun parts of teaching, none of the paperwork, very little of the parents. Works for
That sounds
Right.
me. So, uh, Kelly, I'm going to let you lead because yeah, I shot through, and I feel bad, Emmy. I shot through all of your stuff when Kelly sent it to me, and haven't revisited it since. So it's not fresh in my mind right now. I think Kelly's slightly more prepared and certainly has a better memory than I do. So I'm going to let her lead.
So I met Emmy at Cake in
Oh,
Chicago.
so we've
Um,
both met Emmy.
yeah. So she
I
was at
just managed to miss her at Cake.
yeah. Well, you were there. You were just talking to somebody else.
Right.
Um, and then I purchased the plunge from her, which I absolutely love. Um, and that was such a good one. And then I absolutely love all of the stories that you do. Um, Mainly because they are very, you can tell you do a lot of research, which I am a research junkie. I gotta say I love your Artemisia Gentileschi in your background there of Judith
Thank you.
beheading Holofernes. That's like one of my favorite paintings by her. I noticed that right away. So
Yeah, right over the work desk.
awesome. That's like the best painting to have there.
So say a little bit more about the painting for our podcast listeners, Kelly.
Oh,
You're the art history person, and
yeah.
and
So
they
it's
can't see it. We're only giving audio.
well, I mean, I think a lot of people who know Artemisia, they know it's like her most famous painting, Judith beheading Holofernes. It's a very popular painting subject, I guess, from
Okay.
the Renaissance. But it's yeah, it's just Judith. She's got her knife over Holofernes, and I mean, it's pretty graphic. It's amazing. So
Excellent.
yeah,
I
yeah.
only had to do that because initially listening to you, I thought you were talking about something in the comic, and it was
Oh
you were
no,
like me and saw a shiny object and started
no,
talking
no.
about it.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Emmy's laughing at us both now, or probably just me, but
Yeah.
I'm going to say both of us because that makes me feel better.
Okay. So the plunge was it's a very good story. It's just I love that there was research behind it. I love the artwork that goes with it. And then I saw that you did In Cold Blood. And a lot of your work is kind of smaller stories. I saw that you've done them for like the Nib and a couple of their publications, like the paranormal one, which I own and I love that one too. Um, and I think I'm trying to remember what the other one was. Oh, the graphic canon of crime and mystery, which I've been devouring like crazy as well. So do you
You may
prefer
sense
this?
a theme
Yeah, I like
with my
crime and
wife.
murder, if you can't tell. Yeah. Um, do you prefer doing the shorter stories like that? Or what is your favorite thing to do?
Um, I I have historically done shorter stories.
Okay.
I don't I don't know what the threshold is for calling something like a longer story, but I think
Right.
whatever the generally agreed upon threshold is, I probably like haven't hit it yet.
Mm.
I do tend to stay in the story zone, and I've been working on a book for like years. But the book is also just a collection of short stories,
Oh, that sounds amazing.
which I've realized now was maybe not the best choice because I'm doing all of the research for like 7 books.
Oh,
I'm doing. Um,
yeah.
that's
Well, go
a
find the
lesson
right
for next.
publisher and pitch 7 different books.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly happy with the publisher that I have for this
Okay.
Oh,
one.
good.
I
Good.
have to finish it.
Yeah. No, that sounds amazing, actually. I would love to do that. Just the more research, the better. That's how I
Oh,
am.
I love the research part.
Hmm.
It's the drawing the stories part.
Yeah.
It takes a really
Yeah. Yeah. That takes, I'm sure, a long time. I mean, but the plunge, I know the plunge is a short story, but it's so good. It's like it didn't need to be longer. It was perfect just the way it is. Same thing with the Radium Girls. I've read so many stories about the Radium Girls. I have to say that yours is my favorite. It is so
Thank you
concise
so much.
and I just love, the story that goes with it. You know, and I love the color. I love that there's like the little bit of the green in there. It just adds so much. It's just such a cool story.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Um,
Well, I have a
yeah,
couple of questions that have
yeah,
popped
you
into
go
my
for it.
head listening to two of you. I don't even have the words. So I'll just say I have a couple of questions. The first is, I'm looking at it, and it seems like you mostly work in like the 4 to 20 page range. Do you have a sweet spot? Do you have you found that this is the way I love to tell a story? If I was allowed to work in this, that's what I do.
That's a really great question. I don't think that I found like a sweet spot necessarily. I have, like I said, I've been working on a book for a long time, and all of the chapters in that book are like somewhere around 30 pages long. So that's kind
Okay.
of like
So
the
they're like a longish single issue.
right. Yeah. So that's kind of like the length that my brain has been condensing things down into lately.
Okay.
But like with the plunge, that's I think 60 some
Okay.
pages, maybe, or
Mhm.
something like that. Or 48, maybe. I think it's 48. Yeah, no. Baseline is 64 and the plunge is 48. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, whatever. So it's a little bit longer. Um, and like when I wrote the plunge, I had written it out to be much longer. I
Hmm.
knew what the page count was, But rather than like starting with the page count and trying to like plot it out, I just kind of like started writing, and it was just like going on vibes. And just every time I was like, feels like there should be a page turn here, I would just like write in the document like new
Sure.
page, and then this happens, like new page, and then this happened, kind of like a little beat sheet. And then I looked at it and it was over 100 pages long, and I'm like, okay, so I have to cut this down by half, and went through and like brutally slashed it in half. Um, and so I feel like often a lot of the shorter works that I have feel a little bit too condensed
Okay.
to me. Like if I had, like in an ideal world, they might be able to breathe a little bit more. Um, I think probably a lot of the work that you've seen, like with especially the older stuff, like the Radium Girls that you mentioned, and you said something about the paranormal, which is probably from the beyond. Um, so yeah, like a lot of those older ones, I feel like looking back at them, they feel really dense, like they feel really text heavy to me. And I really have found as I've continued making comics more that I'm more drawn to silence, and like the
Okay.
impact of silence. And so that of course requires a lot of space if I still want to lay out all the factual information that's necessary to tell the kind of stories that I'm telling. And so, now I'm working uh in stories that are like roughly about 30 pages long. And so I have like a lot more space to kind of stretch a similar amount of information out, but
So
insert.
it's funny that as you're saying that, you started by talking about the From the Beyond. So I opened it up because I got your website up, and I started scrolling, and like the roughly the third and fourth page are nice and silent and beautifully silent. Even in your short work, you find ways to cram in that silence. So I get that. Um, I mean, it kind of sounds like if the market would allow it, you'd be happily in the 96 to 150 pages telling the same stories that you're sometimes having to tell in less, which would be beautiful.
I could, but then that also requires drawing
More drawing.
many more pages. And
Well, that's why I said if the market would allow it, because it both requires the market to say yes and the market to hand you enough money that
sure,
you can draw that number of pages and be comfortable doing it.
Mm.
I feel like at this stage, I'm like less concerned about money and more concerned about time.
Well, that's good, but I imagine that there's some element of both.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like
Because I was really only talking about the money in terms of buying the time. If they're paying you well enough, you can go,
oh, like in a world
oh,
where I'm not teaching.
well,
Yeah.
either you can not teach, or you can say it's okay for this graphic novel to take me 2 years to do,
Oh,
or
that's so kind that you could imagine that I could make a graphic novel in 2 years. I've been working on this
you
thing
know
for
what I mean.
almost a decade. It is brutal.
I mean, I'm just thinking. We talked to Landis Blair,
Mhm.
and he had like the ridiculous origin story. He hadn't done a graphic novel yet, and the people who published, um, Kelly, help me,
The people who published.
his book, A Hunting
Oh,
Accident,
Hunting Accident. I'm sorry.
really hadn't published a graphic novel yet. So they threw way more money at that project than almost anybody ever throws at it. When they found out that he was working, and that's why he wasn't. And this was before, he's like, this is before we're even really drawing. This is when we're still meeting every day and just planning out the story. They're like, wait a minute, you have a job too? Well, we need to give you more money. And he's like,
Uh, okay, I have not heard that story. I'm definitely going to have to ask him about that.
right. So and all of this was in my mind because I love one of the second paragraph in the teaching section of your website is Emi seeks to dispel the myth of the starving artist by
Mhm.
demystifying the business aspects and being an artist to empower students entering creative careers. And I appreciate that because it's kind of what I like to do with the podcast too. If you like stuff, go buy it, or better still, just go find the artist and put money in their hands, or go to the Patreon or whatever. And artists out there, if you got a Patreon, if you got a Substack or whatnot, don't shut it down because you feel like you're too busy. Write a letter saying you're really busy and that, content's going to be a little bit low for a while. And if people feel like they need to stop supporting you during that period, that's fine. Most of us won't. Most of us will go, oh, you need our money. Please take it.
Absolutely. You can use it as a tip jar. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
If
I mean,
they want to give you money, don't say no to it. It's not difficult. Just don't feel bad. Just take it. It's fine.
When you talked about the silence, the importance of silence in your book, I immediately thought of Baseline Boulevard because there's just a sequence of black pages and then white pages, and they're necessary and they're beautiful because you see this silence and this emptiness going on. And just as an artist, I appreciate that so much. I think those types of pages are so important to graphic novels and stories. I'm a very visual person because I'm an artist, and so that is really important to me. I love books that don't require a lot of words. I'm very opposite of my husband. He likes words, and I like
I love words, but one of the reasons I like comics is they go back and forth.
Yeah, I love silent comics. And I like to tell people that I have two things that I really love, and it's hand lettering and silent comics, and that's very complicated.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We were going to talk about lettering. We'll come back to that. Don't
But
let me forget, though.
I won't. But yeah, when I made Baseline Boulevard, that was one of the challenges that I was giving myself, was to see how much of a story that I could tell in silence, because there's very little text in the book at all. And I had come to a point where I was looking at all of my work and I wasn't happy with how text heavy it was. And I kind of felt like, is this even a comic? Is this a comic, or is this an illustrated
Yes.
Wikipedia page? Right? Like,
Still, yes.
there's a difference between comics and illustrated prose. And we could obviously like quibble about like where that line is. Like, there's a gray area, but I feel like comics are at their best when they are fully interdependent. Like, you cannot understand the text without having the image, and you
Right.
cannot understand the image without the text. Like, together they make something new, or they inform each other in some way. And so I was like looking at a lot of my work and feeling like a lot of it was just kind of an info dump, and I was asking myself, like, does this need to exist? And like, if it needs to exist, does it need to exist as a comic? Like, why am I making a comic and not like a documentary film, or like, a short story, or whatever other medium? Um, and so I really wanted to challenge myself to make something that was like strictly a comic, and um, challenge myself to just rely on text less to move the story forward. And I I did that with Baseline because I think when you're doing auto bio, like, I already am going into it knowing that I can't explain everything to you, because I know way too much about my life. I know all of the boring parts, and all of like overcomplicated parts and all of like in the interconnected weird parts. And like often that's true of like the history subjects that I do my research on because I spend way too much time in the research phase. But then I'm so excited about all the fun facts that I learned in my research and I want to tell you all of them. And
Mhm.
this guy like once went on another expedition with this guy and they did this thing and like that's not relevant to the arc of the story at all.
Mhm.
But, like I'm not as excited to tell you like every little interconnected thing in my life because it's like I know all of them. It's too
Mhm.
much. So I'm like starting from a place of like accepting and knowing that like I can't tell you everything. And so I'm telling a story and I'm less concerned with conveying all of the information that is like factually true, even though everything in there is factually true, but I'm like less concerned about like telling you like the most facts
Mhm.
and like more concerned with telling you a story that feels true because like that's the
Mhm.
important part of storytelling is does this feel true. um and so I very specifically with Baseline Boulevard tried to use as little text as possible, and to try to like conjure an emotional truth through images. um and then right after that I made the plunge, which, and I don't think that I've like been able to fully explore trying to do that with my history work yet, which is like, what I would ultimately like to do eventually is to tell history stories where I'm more concerned with something that feels true and less concerned about giving you like dates and place names and things like that. Um, but I do think that with the plunge, I tried to prioritize the images in a different way and definitely was thinking a lot more about interdependence and like telling one story in the images and telling a separate story in the text so that like they couldn't like they had to be intertwined, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you really nailed it with the baseline. It is a very emotional story. It's emotion driven, but and I do see a difference. Like I was kind of comparing Radium Girls and the plunge has less words and it I feel like it also has a little bit more emotion to it. So it kind of makes sense the timeline that you did it. That's so cool. Um, so of your classes that you teach, I wish I could take every single one of them. They look amazing. Um,
So the real question is, do you do Zoom versions? What's the rate?
yeah.
I will be very glad if I never have to teach on Zoom again.
Oh, I bet. It is not fun to teach art on Zoom. My goodness.
No, it's not.
So yeah, let's just dive into the hand lettering then, because that is such
Well,
a
can I ask a
oh,
couple of quick questions about baseline
oh,
Absolutely.
first, just because I've been scrolling through it, and particularly because, and I remembered as I was scrolling through it, at least parts of it take place in Chicagoland, don't they?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, uh, uh, and that is what caught my attention because you and I'm always curious as to what is very intentional versus what happens and or is semi-intentional. I'm looking at the signs because I know a lot of these views because I've driven by them. So the signs are um, conspicuously blank for me, but they wouldn't necessarily be for somebody who doesn't know the views. Um, it's also striking to me, particularly as I'm looking at like the one where you've got a McDonald's sign. So all of the signs are conspicuously blank, but you have the arches.
Right.
Um, and, but then there are also occasionally, there is the. I mean, what made me know that I wasn't crazy was when I hit the metro train.
Mhm.
You gave the metro train. Uh, and I'm certain I know where this cherish God's gift life is.
Oh, that one is not in Chicagoland.
I know it's not in Chicago, but where is it?
Oh, I mean, that was just like a sign that was in someone's yard, like just like
Right.
and so like half of that story
Okay.
is in flashbacks in Chicago, and half of the story is uh from when I was making it when I was living in rural Kansas and driving
Okay.
from
Then that's probably just it. Is I've spent enough time on the roads between
yeah,
Chicago,
it's
Chicago
like
and
what
Western
the
Illinois,
Midwest looks like.
and
It is
unfortunately,
any Midwestern
right.
area.
Unfortunately, a lot of rural areas just look alike. So the reason all the rural stuff looks familiar is because a lot of rural areas look alike.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like technically it takes place in like a 40-mile stretch of a country road called Baseline Boulevard that stretches between like southeastern Kansas and southwestern Missouri, but like it could be on any like country road in any Midwestern state.
Okay. Because I had it pegged as either 20 or 64 in Illinois. Uh, and that just again shows how easy it is. Okay. But going back to the question, was there a specific thought process? What signs am I going to show? What signs am I not going to show?
Um, I mean, I think I show signage that is important to the story to a certain extent. Like a lot of the signs are blank, partly just because like I didn't want too much text cluttering things up and like oversaturating the panel with like too much
Right.
meaning or specificity. And like things like the golden arches is like that's like
Right.
non-specific, you
Right.
know. And like the Metra, I guess like I guess I could have just drawn the train without the logo on it.
Right.
And I don't know why I didn't think to do that, but
So,
I like
so, so,
I
so
like
that part, so it was more, it wasn't as conscious when you did put the sign in as it was when you didn't.
I do think that it is.
I mean, other than things like the cemetery sign and the cherish,
Yeah, yes,
because yeah, there are certain signs where it's clear that this is just part
it
of the
has
story.
it hasn't yeah
Right.
there's certain signs like the cherish God's gift of life is like that has like narrative impact, you
Right.
know. And really like a lot of that story was very driven by like memory and like not just me uh like drawing something as it
Right.
happened, but me drawing something as I remember it. Um, and having the signage for the Metra, I think like really very specifically like grounds it in Chicago, whereas like everything else really could be kind of like anywhere in the
Right.
Midwest. And
Right.
so like taking us to someplace like
Well,
really
but then
specific.
there's the Confederate flag flying, which I guess we see more in the Midwest than I'd like. But
Oh, we see it all the time in the Midwest.
yeah. Well, this is my advantage of living mostly in northern Illinois. Is you start seeing it way more about 50 miles south of me
Mhm.
and further.
Oh, people fly it
No,
everywhere.
they
People
do.
fly it in Canada, you know?
Well, and in the capital,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
that's the way to say you're a patriot.
Yes. It's, and like that again, like these are just
Okay.
it's like very memory based, right? Like when you're
Right.
driving down a country road and it's like it's endless and it's boring
Yeah.
and everything's kind of the same, but there are those like little markers and things that you notice and things that you remember and things that remind you that you like don't really belong in this place. And things that like are alienating. Um or whatever. Like I'm sure if I was making a different comic about a different subject that I felt differently about, I might have like pulled out things that like feel really wholesome and like
Right.
comfortable. But that
Right.
wasn't what I was going for.
No. The tone is pitch perfect. I always am curious as because I mean, as many times as I ask that question, I get as many different answers. So, some artists, it's like planned out at the script stage what they're doing to set the tone. And others, it's like, I don't remember drawing that. It just came that
Sure.
naturally.
I mean, I would say that for the majority of my work, a lot of stuff is really, really planned
Okay.
um, in the script stage. Baseline Boulevard, I made with a very different process. And like I had like I in my like really, really early work, I did make some autobio stuff, but that's not really something that I typically do anymore.
Right.
And so I was sort of diverging from my normal work pattern, and that comic, like it's not like totally stream of consciousness exactly, because I definitely like have some sketches in my sketchbook
Right.
of like certain images, but like I really did for the most part like sit down and draw it, which is not how I work normally. Like normally I write a full script and I have very detailed thumbnails, and like if left to my own devices, I will ink my thumbnails before I copy them into like overly detailed pencils, and like a lot of planning goes into
that
stuff. And that wasn't how
that
at
that
all.
reminds me of something that came up in we have a comic strip book club where Bob Sikoriak and Carl Krumholtz and a local Chicago actor named Sean Harper Road and I will choose a different comic strip artist every 3 months and really dive into their work. And we did Milt Caniff. And one of the things we noticed was, at least with his Steve Canyon strips, in like the version we had on his Sunday strips, there was stuff that went outside of the boxes and was completely finished outside of the boxes, even though if you do any research at all, you can tell that it got cut off um for publication. And Bob was like, there must have been some place where it was, because I can't imagine that he would like go to that detail on stuff that wasn't getting printed. And Carl was immediately like, oh, I can imagine. Sometimes I realize I've gotten 4 inches off of where I usually get.
That's wild. I cannot imagine that. Um, did you get to see uh did you get to go on a tour of the Billy Ireland when you were here for
I not only did then, but Jeff Smith took Kelly and I on a tour, um, not last summer, but the summer before.
so you got to see like all
Yeah,
of
well,
original
it was Caitlin, Jeff, me, and Kelly, and we
sounds
got to spend as much time as we wanted. Yeah. Well, you can also have that. I mean, you might be able to pull it off for cheaper, but anybody can have that experience for a $5,000 donation to the Billy Ireland Museum for the Bill Blackbeard Preservation Project. I like to plug that anytime it comes up now, because A, it blows my mind that I got to have a $5,000 experience because Jeff likes me, and B, and I hope Jeff is doing well in his recovery. It was nice to hear good things about him at CXC. And for that matter, go back Thorn. Anybody listening right now, go back Thorn. His Ohio State precursor to Bone comic strips are now on Kickstarter. See, I like to sell things, Emmy.
good.
You got anything for me to sell?
Unfortunately, not really. It's been a few years when I'm done with this book.
Find a way to send Emmy money. She's got an email address at her website, emigennis.com. I'm certain if you ask her politely, she'll give you the way to send her money via PayPal or Venmo or
I'm
whatever.
I'm
And there are
on
comics to buy. What?
I said, I'm on Venmo. If you sent me money, I would never be mad.
There you go. I didn't want you thinking I was only shilling for the guy that had money while you were on the show. Um, but yeah, that was a complete tangent. The question that I was actually going to ask is your art style is very similar, but with some very specific differences on Baseline Road versus pretty much everything I looked through. Were you using different tools?
Yeah.
Just, I'm
I
surprised it wasn't Kelly that asked this question.
I drew Baseline Boulevard in graphite. I
Okay.
used soft graphite pencils, and the idea behind that was I wanted to loosen up. I really wanted, I was trying to do a few things. One of them was the trying to work with silence more, and another one was I was trying to loosen up, and I felt like, I have normally these like very clean, precise lines, and sometimes for me I feel like it can get a bit stiff, and I'm like, all right, I'll draw in graphite, I'll loosen up, and then like I drew the whole thing, and it is in graphite and it is not loose at all,
Yeah,
even
I
a
was
little.
about to say it's in
Extremely.
graphite, but I don't know if I think it's looser.
No, not even slightly. It is extremely clean, it is precise, and I just have made peace with the fact that this is just the kind
Yeah,
of dude I am.
parts
Like,
of it actually look like they might
uh,
have taken more time because you had to go back and forth with your
yeah.
you did these very dark scenes in graphite.
Well, and I wanted the texture, and the texture, like
No, the texture's
that
great. No, I love that.
great, and I think it's very effective. But also, I've just made peace with like I'm just like a clean lines kind of guy, and like that's the line that I make, and that's okay. But it's
Yeah.
good to experiment and step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. My last question on Baseline before we move on to lettering, just because I happen to be on the very dark pages here, and there's a couple in particular. The one where he's opening the window, and the one before that with the tree, where I can't tell, did you carefully do your lines around the white, or did you erase to get the white?
I probably carefully did the lines around the white. It's
Right.
possible that
That's what I was guessing because it looks more like that, but that just seems like so much work.
it's not too bad. It's not it's not too terribly bad. Uh, and sometimes I can't remember exactly, but it's possible.
I'm going to share my screen here just so Kelly can
Oh,
see what I'm looking at too.
oh yeah. No,
I, I
definitely went around the white there for
I
sure.
feel like part of what you did is you changed the direction. You were going with the graphite inside the tree versus outside of the tree.
That's probably true. Yeah.
Which has an amazing effect.
Oh yeah. I'm definitely like drawing around the white lines there for sure.
Yeah.
Like occasionally there might be places where I'm using like a mechanical eraser,
Right.
but not there.
Okay. See, and this is one of the things I love about now doing the podcast, which turns almost all of my comic reading into like book club level comic reading, is that I noticed so many little things that probably affected how much I liked the story before, but I didn't know why. And now I can see the attention to detail in various places, or maybe it wasn't intentional attention to detail, but it wound up working, or you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, because oh wait a minute, did you make the so it gets darker and you can't see the bricks? Oh, that's crazy.
I mean, you're not going to draw every brick. That's unnecessary.
Well, I agree, but it also winds up implying a passage of time. because here we've got bricks. Then we go inside, and when we come outside, it's dark and it's a wall.
No, that's true. Yeah.
And rather than a rustle in the bushes, it's him at the window. Yeah.
See, it's interesting. It's always interesting talking to other people about your work because, like, our human brains are like wired for pattern recognition. So,
Yeah.
like, everyone's gonna notice all kinds of little things and like read meaning into it, even if it's like not necessarily there. I'm like, oh yeah, I just didn't put the bricks there. I don't know. Seem too busy.
Well, and I mean, I was telling one of my students today in reading and writing about a prose novel, the reader is the final collaborator. You
Absolutely.
know, your thoughts on it are going to be affected by, are you hungry? Are you tired? Did you have a fight with your mom this morning? Are you worried about your math test? All of that will affect how you perceive the story as you read it. The other thing I'll say, and I say this both as a lapsed writer and as somebody who talks to a lot of creators, when you get into a certain groove, you don't always consciously do things. You know, it might have been that you were consciously thinking, oh, I don't want to draw the bricks again. And it might have been that by the time you got to that panel, they didn't make sense to you. And you
Hmm.
might not have thought about them at all, except that it never occurred to you that they should be there.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's why storytelling's so fabulous in whatever form. But now let's talk lettering, because
Sure.
I wanted to make your talk on lettering at CXC, and my companions woke up late, and therefore I didn't manage to run down to the library in time.
Well, eventually they will put all of them up on
I
YouTube.
know, I'm looking forward to it
I
because
do not think that mine is up yet because I would have been tagged. I'm sure. So I'm waiting for them to put that one up, so I can then like watch it and feel like, over analyze everything that I said. And
and then assign it to your students and make them annotate it. And
oh no, I will absolutely give that lecture to my students. But I can't
oh,
help.
so what you're saying is you need to hide it from your students so that they can't accidentally slip out of class or take a nap and then go watch the video and pretend like they heard it.
Oh, I'd much rather them skip class and watch the video than skip class and not watch the video.
Well, obviously.
By all means, if you're skipping my class, like, watch my video. That's great.
So let's talk. And I think I mentioned to you when we talked briefly at CXC that I think in our short, well, not short really. We've been on the air for 2 years now, so we're starting to become a veteran comics podcast. But I still think we've talked to more letterers than possibly all of the other podcasts combined. And they're always fascinating people to talk to. Um, we talked to Clem Robbins, and we talked to Hassan Ali, and we talked to um, Darren Bennett of And World Design, and we talked to um, Clayton Coles a couple of times.
Oh,
Um, so four letterers that run the gamut from having started in the days of hand lettering and whatnot to doing the crazy things that Hassan does now. Um, but they all have that perspective of, I mean, and I think I brought this up with you. The one thing that they absolutely have in common is the letter draft is to look for typos. The script you give me had better fucking be final.
yeah.
I
And
don't think any of them put it quite that harshly because they're nice to the people they work with, but
sure.
they're doing a different book every day. They make their living by doing a different book every day, generally, sometimes even two books every day. Uh, so when you say, hey, could you go back and do this? They have to like cram you in somewhere. That's not cool to them. Even if you pay them again, that's not cool to them. Messes with their schedule.
It's also not cool to the art.
Right.
And like you know, as much as I am uh a lettering guy, I don't think that I would call myself a letterer just because like I've never like lettered. Well, I guess I have never professionally lettered someone else's work. I'll say
Okay.
that. Nor do I think that I would care to. Uh, and I also don't think I would care to let anybody else letter my work. And a huge part of that is that like the the text and the image are like the text is part of the image, right? It's like
Right.
inextricable from it, and it's part of the composition at the end of the day. Like, you might look at a panel and there's characters and there's objects and there's balloons and there's text, but at the end of the day, it's all just marks on paper.
Right.
It's just, and they're not different. And it's all just shape and line and value arranged in space. And if you move some of those around, then you've changed the entire composition.
Right.
And so I can't imagine doing my work without doing the text at the same time,
Right.
because like that's not what the image is.
Right.
The panel composition involves the text. If I took it away, the composition would be different. And like I
Right.
need to know that the composition works. And so I can't imagine having somebody else letter my book.
Yeah.
Because
I gotta say, just from conversations,
I'm stressing out just thinking about it.
yeah, no, I gotta say, just from conversations that I've had, there is a special um talent that either involves a good editor, a Shelley Bond, a Heather Antos, I'm drawing blanks, but a really good editor to play field captain,
Mhm.
or a team that very much communicates with each other a ton. I mean, you can tell which books each person just does their job and passes it on, and
Sure.
which books the writer is talking to everybody while writing, and the artist is talking to the letterer, and I mean, and it's a conversation I've heard sometimes where, because we've been blessed to be able to talk to some creative teams where, they'll be drawing a panel and it's like, oh, I feel like I need more space here. And they'll call the writer and say, can you take these 12 words and make it 6? Because I need space in this panel. And the artist will, or the writer will, either do so or not do so, or sometimes they'll rework the script. But I mean,
Oh, when I'm in the
cartooning is either incredibly collaborative or don't touch my stuff. I have to do it all.
I when I am in the penciling stage, like will I will type my script into like I scan my thumbnails and I'll like just type my script into like a Photoshop document like
Right.
over my thumbs, and make sure that the text
Everything
fits.
fits.
And
Yeah.
I am constantly rewriting my script in that
Mhm.
stage just so that the letters make a nicer, like
Yep.
more aesthetically pleasing shape inside of a balloon. It's like,
Yep.
okay, I gotta rephrase this because I need a line break here. Otherwise,
Right.
it's too much
Right.
space or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and then like lettering someone else's work, that's would also be really difficult because you would either need for someone to trust you a lot or for someone to be very available and willing to make a lot of changes.
I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of writers in particular, but sometimes artists as well, um, almost wind up with personal letters. It's like Tom King avoids doing anything that Clayton Coles doesn't letter.
I mean, I like I said, I'm not a letterer. I've never done this professionally, so this is just like
Right.
me imagining like myself in that situation. And that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Makes perfect sense to me too. That's yeah, because again, you're exactly right. And that's why I think there are two reasons that it's fascinating talking to letterers before I have you give the mini version of your lecture, because we've already gone off on tangents. This is what we do on
is
this
that what we're doing?
podcast. That's what I do. I go all over the place. Kelly's sitting there going, uh-huh, that's why I muted myself in case I feel like watching TV. Um,
No, I muted myself because I keep coughing and sneezing. So
oh,
sorry.
that's fair. You're being all polite and stuff. Um, two reasons that they're most fascinating to talk to is, in general, they're the first person that gets to see the comic completed.
That makes sense.
But second, um, their role is so essential, even though most people don't know who they are.
Yeah.
You know, and they have different views on, I mean, like some of them want to be noticed as little as possible. They view their job as to be noticed as little as possible.
Sure.
One of the things that Hassan does a little bit, I mean, when it's appropriate for him not to be noticed, but one of the things that's made him a little bit different is he's become the go-to guy if you want your letters and your balloons to be an integral part of the story rather than just the conveyance of the words.
Right. Well, and like, and they always to an extent, they always are,
Well,
right?
yeah.
And yeah, and then there's the other thing of, I guess, like working with a letter, and if you want the design of your text to be an integral part of your story, then like how do you write for that? Or like how does an
Oh,
artist
I've heard, yeah.
I just as someone who does everything
Yeah.
by myself, it just sounds, I'm scatterbrained enough. I can't
Yeah.
imagine
No, I
it's like disconnected from other parts of the process.
that's one of the cool things about the fact that we talk to independent cartoonists, we talk to indie comic book people that work in teams, we talk to people working at Marvel and DC, is that there are so many different processes that still make great work.
Oh, absolutely.
And that fit different people. I mean, a lot of the people that work great in a team, I can't imagine managing to make books completely on their own.
Sure. I mean, if
I don't think they could rein themselves in enough. I think that they like need to have that responsibility to their team member.
I think for a lot of people, if somebody's working in a team, it's because like I definitely know people who are like, I just love drawing. I don't like to write.
Right.
I don't want to be a writer or whatever. Or like people who write, they
there's
like
probably
can't or whatever.
right. Yeah, there's probably at least a third of the writers really can't draw at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of the writers can draw and even draw well, but reached a point where their writing is in demand enough that they make a lot more money writing 6 scripts a month.
And they might prefer writing.
Sometimes they do, and sometimes they like look for that opportunity to, okay, I'm going to write one other book and I get to draw a book for a while.
Mhm.
That seems to be kind of Jeff Lemire. He would happily um, do all of his own work, but fiscally speaking, in terms of keeping a roof over his head, that sort of thing, it's better if he only draws a book every other year or so.
Yeah. Drawing takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and it takes the time away from writing. If I mean that's the. I mean, most of the people I've heard that do both writing and drawing, they say they can write at least 3 books in the time that it takes them to draw one.
Oh, easily.
Um, and for a lot of them, they get paid roughly the same either way.
Hmm. Yeah. Yep.
you know,
I I'm not going to add any commentary to that, but
no,
I'm
there's worthwhile commentary, and a lot of the writers will make that commentary too. For that matter, anytime you see suggested scales out there, the page rate for writers is lower than that for artists, which I think is why even a lot of the writer artists, it's not until they reach a point where they're not making low end page rate that they go, oh, you're going to offer me that page rate to write? Well, then maybe I should write more.
well, and like also let's be clear, no one's getting paid enough out here for
Oh,
comics.
God, no.
No one.
I mean, maybe Todd McFarlane.
Sure, maybe.
Maybe.
But like
Maybe. I think he's still mostly
there
living off
there
the
are
90s.
there are outliers
Right.
for the most part. If we're
Yeah.
just
No, I
yeah.
think honestly with Todd, it's he wasn't done with his money and he's still living off the 90s. And Kirkman's making some money, but it's not actually on comics. It's on what came out of the comics. you know. So the actual lecture is what people talk about when they talk about bad lettering.
Right. Um yeah, so that was the lecture that I gave at CXC. This of course is an audio medium,
Right.
so
So we
um
can't show off stuff.
no. But I mean the long and short of the lecture is like what we're talking about is composition. It's all composition, all of it. Because when we talk about really good lettering, usually people are like oohing and awing over craftsmanship, you
Right.
know, like really detailed, like immaculate, illustrative lettering or really like creative lettering or whatever. We've all seen lettering that makes our jaw hit the floor, right? And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about craftsmanship. But when we're talking about bad lettering, it's usually not that someone's sloppy, it's that someone put it in the wrong place.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's what makes lettering bad. You can sloppily put lettering in the correct place.
Or,
And like we've all seen that, you
or the
know?
wrong color.
Sure.
Some early heavy metal had some real problem with that, where
Yeah.
it's
And
like you
and
can't put red letters on an orange background and have people
oh,
see
sure.
that.
I mean, if there's legibility issues, like that's a problem. That's obviously bad lettering. But like it's when I see a book and I'm like, this lettering is so bad, I can't read this comic. It's not, and like I'm excluding cases where I like literally can't read it because it's like totally illegible. Because that doesn't happen very often. Um, uh, but it's all that it's arranged poorly,
Yeah.
right? That like we have text that's like sitting in the balloon awkwardly.
Right.
It's like touching the side of the balloon, or the balloon is like on top of a character's head, or what, or like God forbid the reading order isn't clear. Um,
Right.
but so frequently it's just because the text is like slapped on there thoughtlessly.
You
Um,
you bringing up the reading order. Um, my favorite thing in lettering, and sometimes it's more in the balloons. There's actually one panel that always pops into my head. There was a panel in the second or third issue of Love Everlasting from Tom King and Elsa Chartier, where Clayton Coles, in order to make certain the balloons were in the right order, in order to not get in the way of Elsa's art, in order to make it completely clear who was speaking, actually wove like so seamlessly that you didn't notice it. And I noticed it on like my second pass, wove the tail of the balloon between the horse's legs.
Oh, absolutely not. No, no. See,
No, I'm going to have to go find the panel now because it worked perfectly.
oh, I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. But these are not problems that it should be a letterer's job to solve. That should not be like, that should not be something that the letterer then have to fix the issue. That should be something that is figured out at like the thumbnail stage. That's a design issue. We haven't gotten a drawing that far with an issue like that, and then now it's on a letterer's desk and it's their problem? Absolutely not. It's unacceptable.
But that was such a beautiful balloon, Emmy.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was, and I'm sure that he could have made lots of beautiful balloons that weren't an obnoxious issue that of where we had to solve a problem that an artist and writer created and then just said, oh, the letterer will figure it out. No.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think he probably could have, and I think she left him space to have it in the sky, but
would it have looked bad?
I don't think it would have looked bad.
You don't weave a tail between a horse's legs for no reason.
No, it wasn't for no reason. Because what I'm saying is I don't think it would have looked bad. I think it looks better this way because it gave a greater sense of them being in a wide open space.
I will be full disclosure. I have not seen this panel that you were talking about.
Yeah, I had to like go find it now.
And like, so I am making an assumption based on the way that you have pitched this scenario.
Which again, I mean, I could pitch it wrong too.
This is something that like we see in comics a lot is the lettering is in a place where you don't expect it to be. And it is because a letterer got put in a situation where they didn't have a lot of great options and they had to do some creative problem solving. And that simply does not need to happen if we just planned for the lettering to be there from the jump. And like there can be breakdown at so many different places because what if the text was different? And the artist drew for that. And then the writer is like, actually, I've decided to change the script in the middle of you drawing it, which happens sometimes. This is why
it does.
By myself. This is what, like, this whole lettering pass thing. I'm sorry. No, absolutely not. The art is done. You don't get to add another sentence because this is the composition of the panel. There's not room for another sentence. I'd have to change the whole artwork.
I love it.
But this is why
I'm so glad that I managed to get that rant again because I got that rant at CXC and it was beautiful. And part of what was in my head was how do I pull that out of Emi again?
It's so easy. It's so easy to pull that rant out of me.
That is awesome.
Kelly, Phil, while I'm looking for the page.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about your courses that that you teach at Columbus. Do you still teach at Columbus College?
Yeah, this is my 7th year teaching there. I moved out here in 2017 when they opened the new comics major. They need to come help Lauren McCubbin build the new major. So she and I launched it, and a couple years into it, we hired Craig Campbell, and now we have Ben Toll is also working with us in the illustration department, and we've got a lot of got like a handful of really amazing adjunct instructors working with us as well. MS Harkness teaches with us. Patrick Lay teaches with us. Victoria Douglas is going to start teaching with us next year. So we've got a little empire that we're building, and it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That sounds amazing. What do you have a favorite class you teach, or does it
I
just kind
mean,
of depend?
I am very fortunate that the last few years I have gotten to teach the spitball class, which is the it's an anthology class that we teach in the spring, and it's an honors class, a portfolio class. So the students have to apply to get in. They submit their portfolios, and we choose our top students. It's limited to 10 students max. We hire professionals in the industry to write us scripts, and then we pair each student with a script, and the students draw a comic and collaborate with an industry professional, and the students also um, publish this in anthology, and they design the book from start to finish. So like they design the cover and all the interiors, and they lay it out in InDesign, and they look at different printers, and they get quotes, and they have a budget, and they can use some of that budget to design merch, and they get the like paper samples from the printers, and they like feel all the papers and decide what paper stock they want, and can we afford to do like foil printing on the cover, and it's the whole like publishing experience, and it's very collaborative, and it's really amazing, and so that's been like really a joy to teach, to get to let the students, because it's really their book.
Yeah.
I try to do my best to step to the side and like swoop in if things are like lighting on fire if I can. But each of the students has like a role in addition to their role as like a contributor to the anthology. Like one of them will be the assistant editor, and one of them will be like the lead designer, and someone might be like production designer, or like the merchandising manager or whatever. And so I really try to let them take on those leadership roles and navigate and problem solve. And so that's always really cool to get to be a part of. And we've published some really phenomenal books in the last few years. This last edition of Spitball 9, I'm really excited. We got like a quick print run, we got 50 books like rush delivered so that we could have some for SPX. And we had a few left over at CXU. We actually like sold out of them really, really quickly. But those rush delivery ones we got from a US printer, but the rest of them we're getting from the printer that the students chose that prints in China, and they had like more options for us. So when the real books get here, the covers glow in the dark.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
So it's so gimmicky, it's so silly. A cover doesn't need to glow in the dark. What's that for? It's on the shelf. You don't see it. It's so stupid. I love it. It's the best thing ever.
I want it because I love glow in the dark
Kelly
anything.
wants one, so just
right.
Well, it will
address
be available.
Where
it will be available online.
Good.
Yeah, we do sell the books through spitballcomic.com. We don't have pre-orders because we've done pre-orders before and it can get a little bit chaotic. But yeah, it's Spitball Comic on social media, so follow us, and I've got a student worker that will be yelling about how you can buy Spitball when they get to us.
Oh, good. That's amazing. That sounds like a fantastic class. I am jealous. I mean, that's just such a great experience for them to just be. I mean, I know that you're kind of letting them do it, but to have that guidance to kind of help them get through all of that and figure out what they love the most about the whole industry and find their own little niche in it. So
Yeah, and we take them to SBX and they table and sell the book at SBX, and
Yeah,
um
I got to get out to SPX sometime.
for some of them it I've had students on that trip before. For some of them it's like their first convention ever, and that's always like really exciting. And
Yeah.
it's also really cool because often like the creators will be there, and so it might be the first time that they're meeting someone in person, and so that
Yeah.
can be fun to like go run, be like, okay, like introduce yourself. And sometimes
Yeah.
they're really nervous. It's like, them, like you literally made a comic book with them, you can
That's
just walk up and say hi, it's fine and normal.
yeah.
Not all of them are that nervous, but we're cartoonists,
Yeah.
we're all kind of socially
Awkward.
uh,
Yeah.
special.
Yes. I'll totally get that. That's awesome. Yeah, and what a great experience as a teacher too, to just kind of watch them grow. I mean, that's one of my favorite things about being a teacher is just seeing your students, excel and grow and find their thing that they're so good at and love, and you just kind of stand back and and take it
Oh,
all in.
yeah, it's an incredible experience. And especially like getting to take them to SBX. SBX was the first convention that I ever went to, and it was also like where I decided that like I really actually wanted to do this for real, like going to SBX and like seeing the community there and
Mhm.
realizing like, oh, all these people know each other, and like this is like a little family, and I want to be part of this family so bad. Like I'm for real about this, and like being able to like now years later, like my job pays me to like bring young people to SBX, like have that same experience is like really meaningful for me on
Yeah.
a like very personal level. So that's really rewarding.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's amazing. So I'm actually surprised that Tad hasn't brought this up yet because we were discussing your story about urine,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
the miracle cure. That was such an interesting story.
Oh, I hadn't decided if I was going to bring that one up,
Were you
but
okay?
since you have, how
Okay.
was the
By all
research for
means.
that?
I mean the research for it was you know fascinating
Yeah.
because a lot of the research was obviously, I think what you're alluding to is the fact that I drank my own urine.
Well,
Most of the research was like other stuff.
yeah. Yeah. It's
um, Most of the research was finding other people that drink their own urine and then spending like 3 hours on Skype with them while they talk to me about how the Illuminati is suppressing, uh, urine therapy because, medicine isn't real, and all kinds of
Mhm.
pseudoscience nonsense.
I love though that you
And
put
the first
yourself
question wasn't, you
in
really
there.
believe in Illuminati?
Oh.
Oh, you have to let them go. You have to just let
Mhm.
them talk, you know, ask, you want to ask questions that lead to them talking more and not ask questions that shut them down, because that's not your job.
Right.
When you're playing journalist, when you have your
Yeah.
journalist hat on.
Mhm. It's just such a cool story. It's an interesting story. Same thing with the trepanation one. It's just the research behind all of them. It's so fascinating. I love
Did
it.
not drill a hole in my head.
No, I didn't think you did.
Did you get a student volunteer?
No, but I did get people to talk to me for that one, which
Did
was,
did you consider getting a student volunteer?
No.
I did not.
Yeah, it would be interesting to interview people about that. And did you interview people who actually had it done?
Yeah. I
Wow.
interviewed a couple of people who had done it to themselves. And then I interviewed one person who had it done in a facility. Um, so I had gotten in touch with people affiliated with the International Trepanation Research Group. And uh, one of the first people that I talked to was like part of this pioneering movement of this that started in the 60s, and he had like he like dropped acid and did it to himself with like a dental drill. Um, and then eventually the group no longer recommends doing this to yourself, and they will occasionally take groups of people to countries where this is like not illegal to have this performed in a medical facility. So
Yeah.
I talked to someone who went with a group, I think in 2002, and he actually made like a documentary film about it that used to be on YouTube but got taken down at some point. And he was talking to me and he asked me like, "Oh, I can send it to you on DVD." And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So he sent me a DVD of this documentary that he made, and he, like filmed, his whole experience and, hang out with the rest of the group. And he filmed his whole procedure, and it only takes about 15 minutes, and like he's awake the whole time and like chit-chatting with the doctor. And then he also has like cutaway, like very documentary style, like cutaways to like him sitting like, chair, blank background, like giving backstory about his life and like how he got there. And he also wrote all of the music for it. He's like a musician, and it has an original score that he did for the whole thing. And I believe I haven't visited the webpage recently, but the last time I did, if you go to the International Trepanation Advocacy Group's webpage, their landing page had like music that automatically played, and he also did that music. He's a
Interesting.
really interesting guy.
It sounds like it. That's fantastic.
I was actually I have to ask about your fill-in for Oh Joy Sex Toy.
Oh,
You
sure.
gave us the history. Yeah, see, Kelly's shaking her head at me. The history of vibrators.
It's an interesting history.
It is. It's a fascinating history.
I'm interested in pseudoscience, right? Like that's like the through line of all of that. The vibrator thing as well, because that's how it started.
So, I mean, I guess what surprised you? What was fun and interesting about that?
Well, I guess like
I don't want to ask any questions that make my wife squeamish, but you can tell stories that make her squeamish. How about
well,
that?
I don't think that I have anything particularly squeamish to
Oh,
add.
she's South
Oh,
Dakota prude.
Yeah, I'm a prude. It's okay. I know.
easily squeamed out.
Fine.
But I mean, the through line is pseudoscience, right? And so often I think like when I end up pitching an idea for a comic, it's because I've like run into some strange fact somewhere, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I would love for someone to pay me to learn more about this and draw it. And so that's kind of like how that came about. Actually, I do have a fun story about that comic, and which is like very tangential, but I will tell it anyway. And
I
that is
love tangential stories.
when I was getting my IUD placed. I'm at a Planned Parenthood, and like I, have some strange lady with her hands like in my junk, right? I'm like on the table, and it's not a comfortable procedure. So, you're trying to talk so that you're just focusing, like just focus on something else. I just got my vaccine yesterday, and I really, really hate needles. And I told the guy, I'm like, I don't care what you talk about. Just talk to me about something while you're doing this to distract me, because like I hate this. And he's like, all right. And he just like starts chatting. I'm like, thank you. So like I'm just trying to chit chat with this lady, and so that I can ignore like the painful thing that's about to happen to me. And she's like, oh, so what do you do? I'm like, oh, I make comics. And she's like, oh yeah, like we like comics. Have you ever heard there's this like this sex education comic, Oh Joey's Sex Toy? Have you ever heard of that? I'm like, yeah, actually I did a guest comic for that once. It was about the history of vibrators. Like, oh, you did the history of vibrators comic? And then like, go and get like one of the other ladies of like, she did the history of vibrators comic, and they're like placing my IUD, and like, oh, that's so cool. And like, what is it like to do that? And like And they'd all like read this piece, and it was a great distraction.
Wow, you're a celebrity in
A,
a
a celebrity at a
interesting
Planned
position.
Parenthood with the nursing staff.
Yeah, yeah. So
I love
that
it.
that was fun. Um,
That's awesome.
but yeah, I have several comics I've made, most of them for the nib that are like and then I guess the Ojo sex toy one I would put in that category as well, where they're like pseudoscience focused. And like sometimes they're history based and sometimes they're journalism based.
What fascinates you about pseudoscience?
I think it's just something that I don't know if you're a similar kind of person, but like I know for a lot of people they can relate to the experience of like getting mad on the internet, you know? You just like look for a thing that makes you mad. You know it's going to make you mad. You know this, but you look for it anyway. And I feel like to a certain extent, like I get mad about pseudoscience. um, which is not to say that there aren't like a lot. I think that there are pseudoscience practices out there that are like largely harmless. Um, like if you want to drink your own urine, you're not hurting anyone for the most part. If you are telling other people that they should drink their own urine because it cures cancer and they should not go to the doctor, then you are hurting people, right? There's so there's a scale of harm.
So I work in autism, so I've never heard any of
No,
this stuff before.
I can't imagine. So a lot of it I think is that I get really mad about pseudoscience and then like go and read more about it. And part of it also, like I was thinking about this, and this is like several years ago now that I had this realization. Oh my God, how many years ago? I was living in Kansas at the time, so more than 7 years ago. Oh no. Let's not think about the passage of time and how it continues to march
I,
on. Anyway,
I have grandchildren, so I gave up a long time ago.
that's bonkers. I can't imagine. Um, the passage of time, no thanks. Anyway, so I was talking to someone about uh like I guess like thematic through lines in my work, and I'm like, I don't know, like I've made comics about pseudoscience, and I made comics about cults, and made comics about like explorers dying horribly, and comics about a lady going over Niagara Falls in a barrel so that she can become rich and famous. And like, spoiler, she does not become rich and famous. And like it's all about failure. Like all of it. It's all about like reaching for something that is greater than yourself and like missing the mark. And that is probably something that I should talk to my therapist about, I guess. um, but all of it is like people trying to do something, extraordinary and like not quite achieving that.
See, I had to ask because I think I am fascinated with that aspect. I'm fascinated by pseudoscience that's done by people who have done. I mean, one of the have you read anything about Heimlich?
I haven't read that much about Heimlich. I
Okay.
only tangentially know like
Yeah, I mean, so clearly the Heimlich maneuver works for stopping choking.
sure.
But the reason the Red Cross no longer calls it the Heimlich maneuver is because he'd like you to think that it works for a lot of other things. So it's
Yeah,
like, I got to be great once and I need to keep being great, but I got nothing new.
right.
So there are a couple aspects of pseudoscience, and one of them is the person who you feel like should know better but still seems to willfully not see the evidence that conflicts with what they want to believe.
Mhm.
But then the other side that always fascinates me is the consumers that are so desperate for it.
Well, I think that there's crossover too, because
Yeah.
I find that like with peddlers of pseudoscience, there's sort of two categories, and that's like your true believers. And then Kelly, you might like this, the scam artists, right?
Mhm.
And so like I have a comic that I did for the Nib about John Brinkley, who uh put goat testicles inside of people's testicles.
I mean, that sounds like it'd totally
Claimed
work. I don't know what he's trying to do, but it sounds like it'd
well, he
totally work.
claimed that it cured like infertility,
Mhm.
essentially.
That tracks.
Or that it cured uh you know uh like sexual dysfunction.
I mean, I thought he was going to
That's
claim that it like
oh, he claimed
cured
all kinds.
acne.
He oh yes, it got there as well. Absolutely. Um, but that was like the baseline claim, and they're the perfect victims because it it either was like a psychological issue, and so you have placebo effect, and like it works, or it doesn't. And if you are lucky and don't get an infection and die, like what are you going to do? Like report this guy to the cops? Like, oh, this guy, like I can't get it up. So this guy, I let him put goat balls inside me and he lied. Like, what are you going to do? Sue someone about that? It's humiliating. No one's going to do
Right.
that. Like,
Well,
so
and I think this is why there's certain communities that are easy targets.
absolutely.
Autism, Alzheimer's, things that are or can be devastating for family members, where whether or not there's a change and whether or not it's positive is going to be judged more by the person that's not undergoing the treatment than by the person undergoing the treatment. Um,
Yeah,
and
it's very complicated because
and oftentimes the person coming up with the treatment is a true believer. They have that scientific background, but they have a parent with Alzheimer's or a child with autism. So they take their scientific background to come up with this, but because it's also personal, they throw up all the blinders when it comes to, oh, we've crossed out of science now
right. And
into
well
you
and
only
not
have anecdotal evidence that you're going and finding the scientific reason to fit your anecdotal evidence.
sure, absolutely. And not just like the loved ones of people, but also like the people who are like suffering themselves.
Right.
There's all kinds of like fake cancer cures out there, and it can be very complicated too because the placebo effect is very real.
Oh yeah.
And if something is like
It's why you have to have
helping
double blind
you,
studies.
yeah, if something is helping you, then like that's great as long as A, you're not hurting anyone else, and B, you are still seeking like medically sound treatment. And like if you like also want to go like do like Reiki or whatever in addition to getting chemo, and like that is helpful for you, like that's amazing. And I would like never tell people not to do that. Um, so it's a very complicated thing, and there's so many levels of it. And I think um
I don't know what your current book is about, but I
oh,
feel like
it's about doomed expeditions.
okay. I feel like there's a pitch there where you just do the big book of pseudoscience.
Oh, I've learned better than to do a collection of short stories. That was a mistake. Takes too long. But I like with the trepanation piece and the urine therapy piece, like the interesting part of that was, talking to the true believers, right? Because like talking to the scam artists like isn't interesting to me, and like I'm not particularly interested in like giving those people space
Right.
necessarily, but I am interested in like seekers, I guess. And that's something that like I guess that's part of the through line, right? Of like I making comics about like cults, or you know, even these guys in the Doomed Expedition books, like they are motivated by something where they want they want purpose, or like they want meaning that is so much bigger than something that is like achievable normally by I mean the people in the exploration book are motivated by all kinds of things, but I think I'm most interested um when I don't understand it, you know
Are
like
you
I
by any chance? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, I was just saying like I can't relate to the idea of like the whole like climbing the mountain because it's their thing. Like I don't get it. Like why would you climb the mountain? I get that it's there. We don't have to climb it. We don't have to climb. We don't have to go up there. Don't go up there.
Right.
As you say this, I discover another nib piece of yours, What to Pack for Certain Death.
Yeah,
Is
that's the book.
that
Um,
became the book?
yeah, so a publisher reached out to me after I did that, and they were like, "Hey,
Okay.
could you turn this into a book?" And so like that eventually, like several years from now, will be a book.
Awesome.
And it will be What to Pack for Certain Death is the title. Uh,
Okay.
from Random House Graphic in
Hey, hey.
2027, I think, is the plan. So
One day when
stay
it's
tuned.
done. See, and I look forward to it, though. I tend to be fascinated by the reverse. I tend to be fascinated by the people who like probably, and this was actually Kelly and I's first date. We saw a documentary on Shackleton.
I was actually just about to ask
Uh,
about Shackleton.
And
Shackleton
and
can't be in the book because everyone made it.
I
well,
right, right.
but what I appreciate the most about, and this is where I was going, it's like I love the reverse. It's like he had this goal of getting to the South Pole, and he
Well, they
planned
didn't make
for it.
it
He
there.
worked. No. He planned for it. He worked for it. It was even his second attempt at this point, but
Hmm.
there reached a point where he's like, okay, I've got two choices. I can make it to the South Pole, or I can take everybody home alive. I'm taking everybody home alive.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and and I'm fascinated both by the making of that decision and then the how you reshape your trip, in the documentary. And I was afraid to even say it to Kelly, but they have a great scene with them and the dogs, and then the dogs just aren't there, and I'm like,
Got to
do
eat them. Got
do
to
we
eat the
want
dogs.
yeah,
Sorry.
do we want to know what wound up
You
happening to
you
the
have
dogs?
to. You have to. Otherwise, you end up like Robert Falcon Scott, and you do not
Right,
make it. You got to eat the
right.
dogs.
I
Sorry.
mean, even if you're not eating the dogs, you eventually got to stop feeding the dogs.
Huh. Yeah.
If
Oh,
you
and
if
then
you can
and then
get
if you go
enough
that far,
seals and stuff, but when you're wintering on the ice and the ship has fallen through the ice, uh yeah, you don't have room for dogs anymore. I think we were happy that they left that scene out of the documentary.
see, and this like here's the thing. This is why I'm not going to go do that. I don't.
Because
I
you
don't
wouldn't leave that
think
scene
that.
out.
I don't need to. Oh no, I'm saying I'm not going to go down to adventure in Antarctica because I don't have the emotional fortitude to do this. I know this about myself, and
I
also you don't have to. There's no
Yeah,
reason to go
I
down.
think I'm actually because this, I forget what context this came up in one of the classes I was in recently. Why would people do that?
Oh, all kinds of reasons.
Yeah, but I,
Turns
I
out
think I think when people were doing, I mean, I think Shackleton was kind of the end of it, but because the question had to do with like Columbus and Vespucci and whatnot, like literally sailing off, praying that the world was round,
that's
right?
not true, though. They knew the
Well,
world was round. We've known the world was round since like ancient Greece.
people who were smart enough did.
No, 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 no. This is common. This was common knowledge. Like
Okay.
the idea that most people thought the world was flat in the 1400s is fully a myth.
That,
Flat Earth was popularized in like the 19th century by some
well,
religion.
no, that's a whole different thing.
May
Uh,
I recommend the book Off the Edge by Kelly Weil?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I gotta go look it up right now.
I'm in the middle of reading it right now. I've been listening to it on audiobook while I ink these wacky explorer comics. Uh but there's all kinds of scientific reasons to like go check Antarctica out. You know, like I
Right.
get that. I
Right.
get that we're
Well,
going
but
science. But a
where I
lot of
was
these guys were not going for
well,
science. They
no,
were going for glory.
well, and in the case of some of the crewmen, they were going because they just didn't have a lot of other options.
Right. They're going for there's so many reasons. And like
Right.
this
I mean,
book that I'm working
and
on.
that's where I was going. I get it less today when we have all of these people wanting to climb Everest, even though so many people still don't make it. And I don't necessarily get doing Everest to begin with. I mean, what do you expect to go find on Everest? But
Glory.
what?
Glory.
Yeah.
I can't relate to this.
Yeah. Um, but I get the exploring of trade routes, the mapping of the world,
Oh,
particularly when you're in an era where like the idea of freedom as we know it didn't exist in Europe at the time. It's something they essentially picked up from the Iroquois when they get here. You still had a pretty strong aristocracy where it was pretty much assumed that you were either born into the ruling class or you were born into the group that did what you were told and that doesn't mean that they didn't
I mean,
think
I would argue that the system right
and
now
want
is not
more, but
horribly
their
different.
options weren't. Yeah. No. The difference now is that we can conceive of a difference. It's been something that's been talked about, and there's not the same belief structure in it. Um, but again, you also had a time where resources were not what they are. We hadn't figured out how to do a number of things. We were at an inflection point in the post-agricultural revolution in terms of
What time period are we talking about right now?
I'm talking really the age of exploration,
Okay.
the 1500s to the like 1700s.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
So I mean, at that point, a lot of it, like so much of that is driven by empire, right? It's like
right.
it's
I
economic,
mean,
it's
the
colonial.
paying for it, but the people on the ships, it's driven by what else were they going to do?
Well, yeah, but that's also like driven by
Yeah,
economics, right? It's
yeah,
like
absolutely,
this is the job
absolutely.
that you have, and like
Right.
now you're on a ship, and sometimes you're on a ship against your will. Like one of the
Oh, a
characters
lot of the time.
in my comic is an enslaved man who was on a ship of conquistadors,
Right.
and like 300 people got on the ship in Spain, and only four people survived. And it was like three Spanish conquistadors and this like enslaved dude who had been
Right.
kidnapped from Morocco like as a
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
Um, and they walked all the way from Florida to Mexico City.
Yeah. Of
And at the end of all of that, they did not grant him his freedom.
course not. It,
Yeah.
it, it never even occurred to them.
No, no, not at all. It never even occurred to them that like he was a person at all. Incredible. So people end up on these
I mean, and that's it's
voyages for all
required to.
kinds of reasons.
I mean, it's why I think our if anything, our oligarchs of today are way worse than the oligarchs of yesteryear. Is it's required not to think of people as people to be able to exploit them in the ways that they get exploited. Um, 500 years ago, you had some sort of excuse. There wasn't
So I
there
don't think so.
wasn't
I think maybe it was like more acceptable, but it's
well,
this is not to people.
what I mean is you hadn't reached a point where there'd been any widespread idea in Europe, Asia, or Africa that individual humans were born equal. Um,
I don't
some
I
in
don't know.
China.
I would say that I would say that's a pretty broad statement.
It
I'm not
is.
sure that I would
It it
fully
it it,
agree with
it
that.
is. It is a broad statement, but I guess all I'm saying is today you absolutely can't say that.
Oh,
Any
for
rich
sure.
person today
For
knows
sure.
damn well that every human is a human.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean I feel like it's there's no excuse for it in any time period. It's easier for us to kind of think of people in the past as like less three-dimensional, you know? It's
See,
easy
I
for
try
us
not
to
to
like
do that
flatten
as much as
history.
as much as I think of how much we learn ourselves and how much you don't learn until you have to think about it. I mean, Kelly and I were talking about this earlier today with needing to break down things that seem like really obvious when you're talking to 7 year olds. Because if you've never had to think about this thing that cuts paper could also cut my fingers, it's
Sure.
not that you don't understand the logic, it's that you've just never had the thought.
Right. But what I was saying is like I think that we and like, you know, it makes sense. We flatten history. We flatten our own history,
Oh,
right? Like
God, we do.
we create a narrative of our own past, you know, just as much. But when we're talking about like historical figures, it's easy to like flatten people and make them
Oh,
lose
amazingly so.
nuance. And I think that uh I would say that people in the past were just as like intelligent and like understanding of
Absolutely.
nuance as we are now. And like, you know, you were probably like raised by a domestic servant if you were
Right.
a member of the aristocracy. You know that's a human being. You know that. Like
But
deep
you
down
don't
inside you do.
know that you're not different.
I mean, I think that people now today are very capable of like lying to themselves and not knowing
Yeah,
that. You know what I
but
mean?
that also means that people
That's
were very capable of lying to themselves
oh,
then.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
and again, and this is I'm not trying to make them dumber. I think they were every bit as smart, but I think we sometimes forget how much information we have at our fingertips,
We do.
or even how much easier information was to get even pre-internet than it was 100. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
Wikipedia has more information that was in all of the libraries in the world 500 years ago.
Yeah, it's incredible and
You
something that we
know,
absolutely take for.
knowing something in China absolutely did not mean that somebody in Europe knew the same thing.
Yeah,
Um, so it's really, there are limits to how much the human brain can imagine without
totally.
points of reference. That was, and I was totally riffing, so I probably didn't phrase
Oh,
it right.
oh
That
no.
was all I was going for in terms of it's harder for me to it's because I see them as whole people that it's harder for me to just automatically say that anybody who went after empire in Roman times or Alexander the Great was just obviously trying to destroy people and have power.
Yeah, and and we could come at it from the other angle and say like, oh yeah,
Absolutely.
sure, as people, like they were blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, like, if you're a leader of empires, whether that's today as the CEO of a giant company,
Right.
or like 500 years ago as you know a conquistador or whatever, you're probably
Kelly.
you're probably an asshole.
Yeah. Kelly, I'll say to you the same thing that I say to guests when they reach that point. You're allowed to say that on the air. Sometimes I need to be shut up. My wife just sent me a text message to say, "Can we wrap this up?"
You could say that on the air, absolutely.
We now know that Emi is somebody that has to come back, if for no other reason, to have philosophical conversations. I love nonfiction comics.
I would love to come back
because of stuff
sometime
like this.
and
Actually,
talk about nonfiction because it's
actually, have you ever read a book called Sapiens?
I have not read Sapiens, although
Okay.
people have recommended it to me before.
So I just finished reading Sapiens, and there's a graphic novel version that I'm working my way through too, because I'm always fascinated when they, I think it's World Citizen Comics at First Second has been doing a lot of this, where they take like books on the Constitution and make them in graphic novel form. They took Dan Rather's What Unites Us and made it in graphic novel form. And I'm always fascinated by it because more times than not, I wind up liking the comic better because there's so many complex topics. There's so much better explained with words and visuals rather than just words.
Absolutely.
And sometimes with color. I mean, the thing that I remember loving the most in the Dan Rather adaptation is, and I'd have to go back to see if it was exclusively like this, but it felt like, because they mostly just used blue and red, but it felt like more times than not, if a particularly right-wing idea was being expressed, they made the character blue. And if a particularly left-wing idea was expressed, they made the character red. And I realized as I went on that it's like, this is one of the things that one of the tools that they're using to try to remind us that even when we disagree immensely, we're still human beings who love and want and fear and whatever. So yeah, that would be a fun conversation sometime. If you ever read a great nonfiction graphic novel and want to book club it, let me know.
Oh, I'll let you know.
And I might go the other way, but you are busier. I have time to podcast and stuff. You have your classes and your graphic novel, and
well, it sounds like you have a lot going on too.
Yeah, but I have a lot more control over when I do it. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
I mean, from 7:30 to 4, I belong to my high school, but I can actually squeeze a lot of comic reading into that time. And after 4, I mostly decide what gets done when, because nobody's paying for it. Speaking of which, we do have a Patreon. If anybody wants to pay for it, they're more than welcome. 22 Panels Podcast on Patreon. Thank you, Andy. So yeah, Emi, anything you want to share? Anywhere people should find you, give you money, whatever?
I am sometimes on the internet. I used to hang out on Twitter a lot, and it's kind of a dumpster fire now, but technically I'm still on there.
I am only on Blue Sky. I mean, we have our Twitter account, but I only do things on Blue Sky now. Comics Twitter
But
has migrated. It's much more fun over there.
yeah, like I have one, but I haven't really like done anything with it. But
Yeah, I
I'm
get it.
I'm Emmy on Twitter, and I think also on Blue Sky, but I haven't posted anything there yet. And I'm Emi Gennis on Instagram. I'm trying to like post there more often, posting like process
I keep
stuff,
trying to
like
figure
drawing.
out how to best use Instagram in the ways that I understand. Instagram makes a lot of sense to me for artists sharing process or people who are, but I don't know how to like plug an episode. I don't know as easily how to plug individual comics that I like using Instagram. And
Oh,
I'm
I mean, I'm mostly like
working it.
I have not really spent that much time on Instagram
No,
previous to this, but
no, that was mostly just me musing. I
since
wasn't
Twitter has
wasn't
like
asking you to
fallen.
solve it for me.
Well, okay, fair. But I was gonna say that like I've been looking at my friends' Instagrams more, and a lot of my friends' stories are just like a picture of a book they loved that they read, and they're like, "This book rules." So perhaps you're making it perhaps it seems more difficult than it actually is.
I mean
Um,
that's what I used to do on Twitter and now do on Blue Sky. So
there you go.
if
Sounds
if
like you
people are doing that on Instagram and it's not like you wasted the energy of Instagram, then maybe I should just start
I
doing
feel like that's half of the posts that I see.
dual post.
People love to be like, check this book out, it rules. But I'm also just like following a bunch of cartoonists, so that's all we talk about.
Yeah, it also seems like there is a thriving Instagram cartoonist community. I
Oh,
know that
100%.
do you know this is how I know it's getting late at night. Emily Mayer. Emily Mayer was at CXC2. She did a thing
Yeah, yes, I do.
with MS Harkness.
Yeah.
Um, I know that she's got like that's like half the comic reading she does is
Oh,
people who do comics on Instagram.
for
I'm like,
sure.
oh, so there's this whole corner of comics reading that I haven't figured out yet.
Mhm. There's too many comics to read.
I keep calling it the platinum age of comics
It would
because
it's a really good time to be making comics right now.
there are too many great comics for anybody to manage to keep up,
Absolutely.
particularly if you're young enough that there are still old comics that you need to read.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even consider myself young enough for most things, and there's so many old comics that I
Well,
still.
yeah, because particularly once you meet
Most of
Caitlin,
this like bookshelf I haven't read yet. This is like
yeah,
my to read bookshelf.
yeah,
It's
I get that. I get that. And once you spend time at the Biller Island or talking to Caitlin McGurk, you then realize that there's all those old comic strip too. So there's like 100 years of
oh,
great comics that you have to go find and read.
mhm. It's endless.
And wonderful. So,
Absolutely.
Emmy, thank you so much.
Thank you for
Kelly,
having
you did wonderfully, and I'm sorry we went off on a totally me tangent.
Okay.
Kelly's like, I've heard this tangent so
Oh,
many
it's okay.
times in so
I'm
many variations.
happy to come talk about weird history stuff at any time.
We we might have to arrange that. We'll have to find weird books to read. Um, Kelly might make us do them alone. She likes listening more than having to put up with that conversation.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm not much of a talker.
I love that we work this way. She has a shorter attention span.
I do.
Is really what it comes down to. It's like, okay, great. It's fascinating. I was done 10 minutes ago. So, Emmy, thank you so much.
Thank
We'll
you.
stay in touch for 22 panels. This has been our talk with Emi Gennis, and we will see you after the next page.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22 Panels Podcast.